Whittney Huff is an inspirational leader, wellness advocate, and empowerment catalyst who holds sacred space for individuals as they navigate life's challenges towards their truest passions and purpose. With over 25 years of lived experience with addiction and mental health challenges, Whittney discovered profound transformation through holographic human therapy, deepening her passion for sacred knowledge, metaphysics, nature, and understand the human blueprint and soul gifts in the healing process. Having navigated integrated trauma and grief throughout her life, Whittney embodies the message that life's challenges can be our greatest strengths. As a certified trainer and developer for holographic human theory, Reiki master, sound healer, EFT practitioner, and certified peer support specialist with forensic enhancement, she also serves as a state trainer for Utah's peer support certification. Weaving together a wide variety of principles, teachings, and traditions, Whittney's mission is to ignite hope, expand awareness, and empower others to realize that their own solution, and that within them lies the power to choose transformation. Whittney Huff.
I love that so many people that talk today are talking about how our brains work. From a very young age, I grew up in a home, 2 older brothers. At a very loving home. I was very close with my grandparents. My mother did struggle severely with some mental health challenges. At a young age, I experienced sexual trauma, and that was a pattern that continued throughout my life. Every 7 to 10 years, it happened again. And really, I struggled with my mom's through those things, and the way my mom struggled with her mental health, I never felt safe. Even at a young age in my neighborhood, I struggled to play with other kids. I'd always go to the neighbor's house with the older neighbors and just listen to stories. I think storytelling is why I'm so passionate about peer support, because it's such a language that helps us get to know people, and we can learn from people's stories and get to know them. I struggled all through high school. You know, the different things I've experienced and the way I process those things, by learning about the way I process those things, I didn't feel safe. And so I put up this mask of, my life motto for a long time was shit before you get shit on. I'm gonna get them before they get me. I'm gonna put up that I'm mean, I'm angry, you know, and I still had this goofy side, but I had all these friends that I used different substances with. You know, I would mold to whatever environment I needed to make it work and get what I needed from it and then move on. But since I was 8 years old, there wasn't a day went by that I didn't have multiple substances in my body. I went to treatment at 17, still continued to use alcohol, but I let the meth and the heroin and the pain pills and some of that go for a little while. It did what it was supposed to do. I was so scared to be in my own skin and let people know what was going on with me. And that's kind of where I came to the title of my talk, was Surviving to Thriving. I never wanted people to know what I had been through. I never talked about the things that had happened to me, or I didn't want people to know, because I didn't want them to look at me different or like I was weak, because if I felt like that, then I'm going to be subject to it again. So through these different things, I continued to struggle. I made a career path out of drinking and became a really good bartender. And I loved to work. My depression was intense. I couldn't get out of bed, but I loved to work. Work gave me a sense of purpose. So even throughout my addiction, I always had 3 jobs, you know. Office by day, bar by night, and doing side jobs in between, because it gave me a reason to get out of bed, to keep going. I couldn't do it for myself, but I could do it for someone else. If I told someone I was going to be there, I'll be there. Finally, and there was never really any real consequences. The patterns in my life was I was miserable, I felt hopeless, I was scared, but I didn't even realize that I was scared. I just built these coping skills in this wall of this angry person trying to protect myself and feel safe. I went to treatment. My dad passed away. My dad was always my safe space. He was the epitome of unconditional love. And losing him was like this hole in my heart. And I remember crying and crying and crying and crying. And one day I'm like, I'm tired of crying. And I turned that grief into anger. And I fought anybody. I would start fights with anybody just because that became this emotional release. Like I didn't know what to do with everything I felt inside, and the substances stopped working long ago. It was just, they stopped doing what I hired them to do a long time ago. And so the anger became the thing that gave me this emotional release. And so I hurt a lot of people. I caused a lot of fights. It got to a point one time that I blacked out with my anger. I thought that I had genuinely killed a person, and that scared me. And then I became scared of my anger. And it's like, what do you do now, right? The substances stopped working. The anger stopped working. I was lost, terrified. And then I went to treatment. I found some grace. I remember going to meetings or whatever they had you do, and it's like my whole lifestyle was around drinking. Like, what do people do when they go camping? What do you do when you go boating? Like, I really didn't know, and I couldn't even perceive it. Like, what do people do for fun? Like, I'm not going to go somewhere and have mocktails. Like, that's just not, doesn't sound like a good time for me. So when people would talk about, experiencing whatever, I was like, okay. I didn't believe them, right? Because that's all I could see. And I remember sitting in the kitchen at the treatment center, and we were just goofing off and listening to the radio. And I felt this laugh, a deep belly laugh. And I was like, oh my God, I don't remember the last time I felt that, And I gained some good things through that treatment center. And at the same time, I was so scared that I was going to die, and I was willing to do whatever it took. But I was like, if I'm doing this, I'm going to do it. I'm all in, And I sat there trying to get through that first step. And that word powerless just ate at me. And I couldn't lie, right? If I lie, I'm going to die. So what am I supposed to do with this? But that word just hit me. I'm like, I'm not powerless. And so I kept trying to do the step, and I couldn't get past it. And then I had been in therapy since a very young age, doing all these different things, and I never found any true success or found myself through it. And I had a therapist that was great. And then I had became codependent on him. At a young age, my dad did a lot of stuff for me, and I'm so grateful for him. But when I lost him, it was like, I don't know how to do a lot of things because my dad did it for me. And that feeling of like, oh shit, what do I do now? I never wanted to feel that again. So I went from this codependent thing to this hyper-independence thing. Nobody's going to help me. I'm not letting anybody in. And so then when I met this therapist, he really helped me. I started to gain this fire inside of me, but it was like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Tell me who to be and I'll be it, right? Because if not, I'm going to die. So I went on, and then finally I relapsed, I overdosed, yada, yada. And then I went to another treatment center. I went there with no money. Measures of affect, theoretically relative. And what that means is they're going to measure whatever behavior is going on, there's a need underneath it. And that person is displaying something underneath that. I struggled there. I didn't know what to do. I ran away 3 times in a month. The last time I'd overdosed in my car. yada, yada. I came back. Some trauma had came up from a sexual trauma, and I was faced with it. But once again, I didn't want to tell anybody what had happened. And I got back, and this guy's like, hey, this young girl's been through something similar. Will you get up and do a technique? It could really help her. And I couldn't do it for me, but if I could save some other girl, I'm going to do it. And I did these techniques. I learned about holographic human transformation theory. It's a thing that originates from the Delphi temple. And I found this sense of identity, right? It teaches you how your brain works. It takes techniques from neurolinguistic programming, stuff from the Delphi temple. It teaches us how we consciously and subconsciously process information, how we create programs. Everything is a storyline that we tell ourselves. It is a conscious response to an event that happens. I created that storyline, and I struggled with forgiveness and all these things, and the world's out to get me, but really, because of these events that had happened in my life, I created belief systems about myself. And then I met with the world that matched whatever was going on with me. I'm telling myself a story, so that's what I'm going to pull up and see in my environment, right? I learned about change. I have to change consciously, and the key to that is to become aware of it, right? And we're running on these, people have talked today, we're running on unconscious programs, automatic learnings and functions, right? And so when I realize that if something's not working, I can just rewrite the storyline. I can change it at any point. But the key is you have to become aware of it. And awareness doesn't mean you have to do something. It means you truly have choice. And so now I can look back at these things in my life and I can have compassion. I was doing the best I could with what I had at the time, right? And now I know better. And if I know better and I choose to do something again, I'm still practicing choice, and there's something to learn from it. But there's two ways to change through holographic human theory. There's incremental change and identity level change. And transformation begins with knowing ourselves. And that's knowing how we function, how we create models, programs, beliefs, all of this stuff. Our inner world should not be a mystery, right? Manny had his brand new daughter here. Anybody see his daughter? What do you think of when you see that beautiful baby, right? Magic, pureness, right? Innocence, love, all of these things. Does that baby have to do anything to be those? It already is because it exists, right? And we see that, and all of us are that. And then we have these experiences that cause pain, and so we create boundaries and beliefs that go counter to who we truly are, because there's pain in there, right? And so we put up these walls, and tolerance is the ability to endure pain and hardship. I'm not talking about how many substances you can use. I'm talking about your ability to endure pain and hardship. Addiction is on a mental level. We get addicted to our thoughts. We get addicted to our emotions. We get addicted to our beliefs, and they just keep duplicating. We take them on from our parents, right? Closed systems can only duplicate themselves. And so when we become aware and we can choose our thoughts, right? We can choose our emotional conditioning and our responses, and we can challenge our limiting beliefs, right? Anytime we have an idea to do something, just because you're able to think of that thing, it means you have everything inside of you to see that thing through and be successful in it, or you wouldn't even be able to think of it. And what happens through that process is there's built-in disorder and uncertainty. Because if we're just handed something, we haven't gone through the process of evolution and gaining the strengths from that to be able to maintain that thing. And as soon as we have that thing, guess what? Here comes more disorder and uncertainty because you have more potential. These things are working to draw out your strengths. Everything that shows up in your environment is a huge mirror reflecting back to you your own strengths. What I notice in someone else, I wouldn't even be able to see it in them unless it was a part of me. And if I take that and use all of this feedback that's given to me, you are the universe, and the universe was designed for your success. Anytime you see something in someone, it's because it's within you. And we can take these heavy things that we've been through which is why I love doing this and I love doing the peer support trainings, because I get to hear people's stories. And I know that's exactly where their magic lies, that they're going to go out and be that person for someone that they didn't have as they go through it. And through that, the deepest pain creates our greatest strengths, as long as we choose to nurture it. And to surround yourself with people, right? I tried to fit in boxes for so long that I don't fit in. And then I've had these beautiful experiences through holographic human and did this identity level change that I'm not even the same person, because all of that was just a storyline, trying to fit in this box, or do it the way they told me to do it, or this is what you have to do, fake it till you make it. All of this stuff, it wasn't going through my vessel. The best advice that we have for someone else is actually the best advice for ourselves. If we can listen to the way we talk to other people. And what a humbling thing, and which is why I stay in this, because I get to learn about myself all the time through working with so many people, and I get to love people. Last time I walked into treatment, I weighed 80 pounds. There was no skin left on my face. I'd picked it all off. Eye was swollen shut. I was so scared of being hurt again. I thought if the outside matched what I felt like in the inside, nobody could hurt me anymore. I was terrified of just living. And then all these things, people kept saying, oh, you're a survivor, you're a survivor. And it's like, that's exhausting. I'm not a survivor. Like, okay, yeah, I lived through that, now what? And they said, are you through being a survivor and ready to live yet? I'm not a survivor. I survived some heavy things, right? And those taught me my greatest strengths, but I'm tired of just surviving. I'm ready to live, and not just live, I'm ready to thrive and experience it, right? But continue to learn, sit with yourself, get data from your past, right? And question your emotions in the present and model for your future. And you can do, be, create anything you choose to. And those deeper questions, be mindful of anything that comes after I am, right? Because that's creating your identity, and that's creating what you view out here, right? You're not an addict, you're not an alcoholic. That might have been something you've struggled with, but who are you truly? And speak that, right? Let's stop giving all the energy to the substances like they're the problem, and start giving all of our energy into the identities we truly are. And if you know that, keep building on it, because it evolves every year, right? And if you're not, what a beautiful place to be in. Who are you truly? What a beautiful journey of self-discovery that we're consistently on, because we always have potential. So, thank you guys.